feel like right now the audience is basically hungry for a new interactive experience with film. Everything's going back to the need for 3D. Every movie's coming out in 3D now. And I think that's a need for the audience, is basically saying, I want to try to connect with the material more in these new and interesting ways. And so in the article, I was basically just trying to express how I feel like there needs to be more merging of these other different media, multimedia experiences, because everything is kind of drifting more back toward one of the oldest forms of art, which is the theater, which is where you can actually see somebody in front of you.
No one. So a film exists in 6 different ways, isn't that? When does it actually add to the experience, and when does it actually detract?
I think when it's appropriate for the story. I think every story is different. It may add, like that's why some films 3D doesn't do anything for you, because people are forcing the 3D aspect onto something that may necessarily doesn't need to be 3D.
Right.
But by doing that, then all of a sudden they think that that's going to better the film in some way for the audience, and the audience is.
But who should be in charge of that in some ways? That's what I always wonder. Like, who should be in charge of, like, okay, well, that doesn't need to be 3D because you'll do, or that doesn't need to be in 6 different forms. That doesn't need to be a viral video. That just needs to be a fucking feature film.
Ready?
Oh.
Come on now, Mosbey.
Yeah.
He's baiting you, man.
Ready?
Ready? Ah, one to me.
Gah! That's the problem, is that they're trying to just have the movie fit the idea of the distribution model rather than like the movie being appropriate for how do we show this and what's the best way to format it.
Feels like they're just shooting a buckshot, or like
Absolutely.
they're just like kind of just seeing what sticks. And I don't think I think there are some people using it in innovative ways, but then there's other people that just are just throwing it up and see, oh, that works, and then they just repeat it. They don't. It's not like, there's no sort of innovation or drive forward. It's just simply like, well, people expect this, so let's just do it.
Ready?
Ready. What's interesting too, there was a few places, I think Ted Hope said a few things about this, and there's other filmmakers that think the feature film is disappearing, and we've talked about it too, in the sense that the format's changing and the features are getting smaller. Feature film now in some festivals is 62 minutes.
Right. Where does the short feature come in?
Yeah, or I mean, where does the feature have a place in cinema? I guess is.
Well, and it depends on your definition of a feature, right? Because by festival standards, a feature is this. By Film Encyclopedia, maybe something else, and it changes as the years go on. In the '80s, the average feature was an hour and a half. Ready?
Ready. Oh. Nice, Mose.
Yeah. Is that mine? I didn't know. Shit.
Absolutely.
In the '90s, everything became more bloated and was about 2 hours.
Right.
That was the average. So for me, I think that's cool that films are short features, and yet.
We'll talk about place too with this thing.
Where do they show it?
Yeah, where do they show it? Where do they fit in? Like, I mean, if you're gonna change the definition of feature and then change the definition of content, then where are you exactly going to place it? Does it have a place? Does the theater, the 70mm print, have a place anymore?
Well,
I think Nolan will go in that direction.
I think that's the problem. Too many people are thinking, well, one thing has to disappear completely.
That's true. Yeah. No, yeah.
Why can't you add on to something and layer rather than saying, well, whatever was here last has got to go?
Ready? Pull. Oh.
Shit. Shit, that was a nice one too.
Pull. Sorry.
What a beautiful.
Right.
Why can't you just take all those elements and use them as needed, depending on the story?
Almost
like this should be shot in 70mm, or this should be shot in 3D. This will be shot on the red. I mean, whatever. I think the style should be dictated by the story.
Or the tool that you need, as opposed to
where because you're saying I can't have something be.
Is it a web series?
But painters aren't worried about the canvas can only be this big, because filmmaking is such a commodity, is such a business of all the arts. It's the business one. Ready?
Ready. Ooh. Who's that? That's one. I'll give it to him. Well, most of the commodity too, because it costs so much. So if we want to change the scope of what we're saying, and I mean that draws back to the idea of it has to be marketable, so the scope has to be bigger, so that the audience is more engaged. And then, well, that's going to cost this much, so then I have to make this much, so then I have to. So it becomes a vicious cycle, I think.
Right.
I think, and it starts with not what story would we like to tell, but more of like what box do we have to construct that will sell the best, and
that's
that gets in the way of place and putting things in.
and for me, that's what my whole article is basically saying is don't have a box.
Right.
Think outside of that box. You could have that same story shown a million different ways, different venues, and that would be a different experience and show the longevity of the art.
Something to think about, my friend.
A little bit. Ready?
Ready?
Ah, damn it, John.
I'm out.
I know.
Oh, I thought you got.
Are you out?
Yeah.